Thank you for joining us. Each week we'll be celebrating Women's History Month by interviewing someone, a woman leader here at our company. Today we have Bahar, and I'm not going to spend too much time with introductions because I'm going to pass it over to her, and she's going to introduce herself and tell us all about her role here.
Hey everyone, I'm Bahar Sahajwalla. I'm our head of external relations and government affairs, associate general counsel. I'm based here in Washington, D.C. It's nice to chat with you, Prisma.
So I like to start with, these fun questions that make you think back in terms of what did you want to do when you were a little girl?
I can say that I have a little bit of a strange answer for a child. Uh, so when I was a kid, I actually did want to be a diplomat. I think most people say I want to be a firefighter or, something more child appropriate, but I used to say that I wanted to be a diplomat. And the reason is, growing up, I actually did move abroad. I was born in Dallas, Texas. Love the Dallas area and familiar with it. But my dad's job actually moved us abroad, and I spent a lot of time in the international school system. And so that included, like the American Embassy schools. And so I, attended that for elementary school and met a lot of diplomat parents. And I thought, wow, their job is so cool. They travel all around the world and, solve all sorts of interesting problems. I want to do that. And so that's what I wanted.
That's really exciting. I mean, I don't think that I would have known what a diplomat was at a young age, but it makes sense why you wanted to be a diplomat. And so, tell us more about your professional history before your journey before MoneyGram.
I've been at MoneyGram for a little over 5 years now. I think, prior to MoneyGram, I was at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. I had a big interest in global politics and how they impact companies, large companies, small companies, how it impacts different industries. And so it was really nice to be able to work at the chamber because, you get a chance to work with a variety of industries and help them through their regulatory and policy problems. So if someone's having a licensing issue somewhere or if someone is having trouble with a particular new regulation, doing that on behalf of a lot of different companies was a really great opportunity. Before the chamber, I also worked at the U.S. Trade Representative's office, working on trade barriers and trade issues um, related particularly to Europe and the Middle East. But nobody wants to hear my whole resume. So I will say, I've spent a lot of time in Washington, D.C. And a lot of my background and professional experience really stems from a lot of the things, a lot of the political and policy things that happen in DC.
That's exciting, especially knowing that you're from Dallas. I don't meet very many people that are actually from Dallas, so it's great to know that you're originally from here, and also your time in DC has really shaped your career, it seems. So you mentioned the Chamber of Commerce and all the different companies, and then you chose MoneyGram. So why did you pick MoneyGram?
I actually, my family, we have a historical relationship with MoneyGram. My parents moved to the US in the 70s and they moved from India. They moved to the US looking for opportunity. They came with very little, they came with $20. And they worked extraordinarily hard for everything that they have. But one of the things that an immigrant does is we send money back home, and my family uses MoneyGram to send money back home. They've been doing that since I was a little girl, and it's something we look at MoneyGram with a lot of gratitude. Because of the services that MoneyGram provides, the products and services, and then. There's sort of this the pride that's associated with MoneyGram as well, because it makes a difference in our day-to-day life of what we do as a family.
I love that, and I can definitely relate to the immigrant background, and so being a factor in why MoneyGram, right? And so, what do you love most about what you do?
Yeah, it's it's something that I think evolves every day as well. I love one thing I absolutely love about MoneyGram is, given our global presence, given all the different places that we are, for someone who started in my line of work, there's no company on earth that is quite as impacted, right, by the regulatory environment, by the political environment, by all the different changes that happen, in a geopolitical sphere. I think if you're someone who's interested in that kind of thing, MoneyGram is a tremendous place, for you to learn from, for you to gain experience. So that part, was the one of the things that first attracted me to the company, and continues to be something that I really enjoy. The other thing is, though, at MoneyGram we wear a lot of hats, right? Everybody has, you may be working on one thing, or you may have come with one background, but you start to pick up new things, you learn new stuff, and you pick up content and experience about things that you never thought you were going to learn. I really do enjoy that because I don't think that you get to do that everywhere. You often get siloed, like, you can do one thing and that's it. And that's really not true. I think smart, competent people can do a lot of things. And MoneyGram really recognizes that.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing about that. What are you most proud of, or what professional success would you say is like the highlight of your experience here at MoneyGram?
I think one thing that I really, really feel very proud of is, I have been with the company when things were difficult. Yeah. And, in terms of the regulatory environment, things that we were dealing with, in regards to litigation and things, that we were facing, 5 years ago. And I think that the company has really transformed into something that is incredibly for our consumers safe and reliable, and at the forefront, I would say, of making sure that what we offer is safe and reliable for our consumers. But also, we've transformed into a business that is, innovative and cutting edge, and is able to bridge the gap between something that would be considered old, or legacy, traditional, with things that are completely new, and really offers a variety of products and services to the people who need them. To be able to watch that, to be able to be part of that, has been really exciting.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I definitely think that, in my short time at MoneyGram, I've seen a lot of that as well. So thank you for sharing that. So we're going to shift gears a little bit. I know I asked you what you wanted to do when you were a kid, but then, I want to get to know you in terms of, what's your favorite book, your favorite movie?
Oh, okay.
What,
Good questions.
yeah,
Good
yeah, more on the
questions.
personal side, so that we can learn more about you.
Yeah. So, okay. So my favorite book. So, one, the boring answer in some ways, even though it's not a boring book at all, is, as you know, I'm very interested in sort of geopolitical trends and changes that happen, historical trends that happen. And so there's this book called All the Shah's Men, which is about the Iranian Revolution in the 1970s, and the impact that Western countries had on that time period. It's a fascinating book. It sounds, like some boring textbook, but it's not. It reads like a thriller novel, and so that's actually one of my favorite books that I've read.
A favorite movie? Any
Favorite
recommendations
movie.
for us?
Yeah, a favorite movie would be Good Will Hunting. Um, and I'm also a big Bollywood movie fan as well. So, watch a lot of Indian movies as well. And then I will always admit to guilty pleasures as well. So, Devil Wears Prada is the guilty pleasure favorite.
Oh, that's a great one. That's a good one. So what are your hobbies outside of work?
So there's I love to travel. I'm a big fan of seeing as much as I can see. I traveled a lot as a kid, and so that's definitely stuck. I actually used to teach Bollywood dance as well. I don't do that anymore, but it was something very fun. I do take classical Indian dance now, although I don't attend class as much as I should. But dance is definitely something I enjoy. I have two daughters, and so spending as much time as possible with them is definitely a giant hobby as well. We do a
Yeah.
lot of baking and cooking together.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I'm sure during the pandemic that was something that you
Yeah,
could
thank
do a lot
goodness.
of.
Yeah, that was like something we can actually do, so that worked out nicely.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Well, I wanted to just put those in there because we want to obviously get to know you,
Yeah.
in terms of not outside of work as well, and but shifting gears a little bit, and I know you mentioned you love, these historical works. You mentioned your book. So I guess, is there a particular woman in history that that you find especially inspiring or that you look up to?
Yeah. So Eunice Kennedy Shriver is actually somebody that I do look up to, or I find, as a historical figure, her mark is incredible. I have a twin sister with Down syndrome, and we are active in the Special Olympics community. My twin sister, she's on the Special Olympics basketball team and a bowling team, and I think that Eunice really created an incredible community, and really recognized what it meant for someone with an intellectual disability to be integrated into the community. And so we as a family are very grateful for what she invested in and what her thought leadership was for the Special Olympics organization.
Thank you for sharing that. In terms of the success, right? How do you define success? And it could be well-rounded way. It could be here at MoneyGram. What is your definition of success?
I think when it comes to professional success, I think you need to ask yourself every day, are you waking up and excited to go to work? If every day you're waking up and you're like, man, I really don't want to do this. Now, everybody has days, I think, that you're like, man, I don't want to do this. But if it becomes a trend, that's where you got to look at success and say, maybe I need to change what I'm doing. But I think, people will say there's an expectation of a certain title, a certain salary, certain presence in your field. I think those are all things that are important, of course, but I think if you're waking up every day and dreading what you're doing, it's time to change the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. And in terms of success, I mean, are there certain factors that you have identified that impact a woman's ability to lead or success in
Yeah,
general?
yeah. I think um, one important thing is as a woman to recognize all the things that you need. I mentioned I have two daughters. I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. And it's just as important to me to be there for them and to be a good mother who is, present and, is not enjoying motherhood as much as it is to me to be present and enjoying my job. And I think that defining success requires a crucial integration of both of those things. And then I think as a woman leader, not having to shy away from that. I've had jobs where you really didn't talk about the fact that you had kids. I've had jobs where you didn't really talk about what was going on at home. I'm very grateful for the fact that MoneyGram is not one of those companies, and it allows me to succeed in both hats that I wear. Because to me, I'm not going to succeed in my job if I have to hide the other part of me.
I agree, and I'm happy that we're providing that kind of space, especially during these changing times. I mean, we've had such a shift since the pandemic and so many current events. So with that in mind, for allies, for men, for others, how can they support women, and women's advancement?
Women uh, have found a way over the last decades, right? To continue to push forward despite the difficulties of rising in whichever type of environment they're trying to rise in, right? Whether it's in a corporate environment or in any industry, or whether you're a doctor trying to rise to leadership roles in a hospital, whatever it is, I think women have continuously fought and figured out ways to do it. I think one of the things that allies should do is help in a way that it's not so hard, right? And that means, like, if you see someone, if you see a woman that is um, incredibly good at her job, or is able to make an unique and interesting contribution that's helpful to something, speak up and bring people into the fold, right? And if you have a position of leadership, you are also enabled to do something where, if you see someone that is a rising star, you're the person who speaks up and it's not just an afterthought. I think uh, being cognizant of things like that is a really good place to start, because a lot of people will just sort of think to themselves, well, that's not my job. But thinking in that way, I think certainly helps move the needle forward.
That, as they say, right, standing on the shoulders of
Yeah,
giants, right?
yeah,
For the
for
next
sure.
generation and so forth. So we're almost about to wrap up. So
Yeah.
wondered if there was any advice that you wanted to share with young women within MoneyGram, within your industry, who want to aspire maybe to a role like yours. Any particular
Yeah.
nuggets of advice?
Yeah, I think it's actually quite similar to what I was saying before. I think if you are a woman who's looking for opportunity, who's looking to rise, who's in the company, who's looking to learn something new in the company, I think a key thing is that if you're a person who's there, who's already growing, I think it's important that you support the other women in the organization as you see opportunities come along. Speak up, say something, identify someone who you think you see a tremendous amount of potential in. That's one thing. And I think there are times where people will feel like, oh, if I say this, then maybe that will jeopardize my position in something, or I won't get an opportunity for this, so I need to save it for myself. And I really think that that's not true. I think there's enough to go around. There's more than enough opportunity for everybody. We just need to create an opportunity, or we need to create an environment where that really is fostered, and it's recognized that it's not just about, like, oh, if someone succeeds, then I'm not going to succeed. We can all, I mean, it sounds cliche, but we can all succeed. We just have to, I think, having those friendships and that mindset amongst women, that we are looking out for each other. I think that that has helped me a lot. I've had a several women mentors that have done that for me. And I certainly believe that I need to pay it forward as well.
Thank you. Thank you for all those words, Bahar. This has been just a wonderful conversation for me, for everyone watching, to get to know you a little bit better in terms of your role, your personal life, and how it all fits in within our MoneyGram company. And so thank you, and we're honored to have you contributing to our organization. MoneyGram is built an inclusive workplace where women can thrive, and we're honored to have you, Bahar, and all the women of MoneyGram as we celebrate Women's History Month. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments or suggestions, you can email me, Prisma Garcia. And of course, you can find more materials and information on Connect on Women's History Month and other months to come. So thank you.
Thanks, Prisma.